paseo no está comenzando de la forma adecuada. Se me acaba de olvidar que tenía que traer los certificados de vacunación y ya hay una persona que me lo está trayendo. Todo está contra el tiempo, así que el paseo comienza un poco desastroso. El olvido como siempre. Finalmente llegaron los papeles, vamos a hacer el check-in, vamos. Apreciadas colegas y apreciados colegas, bienvenidos de nuevo a este blog, el blog de la vida de un veterinario de vacas. El día de hoy es un blog, como muchos otros, también muy especial. Es la primera vez en la cual yo voy a asistir al Congreso Mundial de Pediatría. Este año lo hacen en Madrid. Para mí será una experiencia única. Ustedes se podrán imaginar que esto es el tope de la medicina veterinaria de vacas, y adicional a eso pues hay un día completo de ecografía y yo voy a asistir al final a los workshops. Voy a tratar de mostrarles todo lo que pueda y después de todos los inconvenientes que hemos tenido para tan solo poder tener el boarding pass, voy a tratar de mostrarles cómo es asistir a un congreso de esta magnitud, que en este caso pues es lo máximo que hay de medicina veterinaria de vacas, y espero lo disfruten. Nos vemos más adelante. Bueno, aquí ya estamos recién comenzando el World Pediatric Congress. Ya me dieron los instrumentos, bueno, las cosas que le dan a uno ahí al principio de cada congreso. Recién está comenzando. Obviamente todavía nada, o todo está recién para montar. Ahorita viene como una ceremonia de bienvenida y posterior a eso ya mañana comenzarán las charlas en sí. Y le entregan a uno esto, trae, qué sé yo, un poco de información, el escarapela y los programas. Esto es para que se den cuenta de la magnitud de un congreso de estos. Miren, este es un pedazo del programa en donde se pueden ver que hay varias salas simultáneas al mismo tiempo, pero en este caso vemos 3 salas, aquí otras 3 para 6 y aquí vemos 5 salas para el día lunes 5 de septiembre, o sea son 11 salas simultáneas al mismo tiempo. Digamos que yo más o menos ya estoy acostumbrado a ese tipo de cosas, pero jamás con 11 salas, ¿sí? Por ahí con máximo 5 salas al mismo tiempo. Toca cuando ustedes tomen la decisión de venir a esto, ustedes tienen que estar bien preparados para asistir a las charlas que ustedes quieren, porque es imposible asistir a todas las charlas.
Que la producción ganadera conforme una actividad económica y social de primer orden.
Ya estamos llegando al primer día del congreso. Bueno, realmente es el segundo. Ahí estamos viendo ya la gente cómo va entrando.
Questions from the audience. I welcome the first speaker. She's Teresa Maria.
Area already, like some talk about like travel, also like influencers already.
Dysbiosis, what does that mean? It means a shift in the uterine microbiome. Cows that develop trichs, they have more of this newly.
So with that, and to leave you with some thoughts, Doppler ultrasonography at somewhere between day 20 to 22 has high sensitivity. Like I said, I think a lot of that is because of how we set up, because of the cost of having false negatives. But specificity has been moderate. It does vary a lot, as we've seen based on the reports I show you and what I have, some of the data we've got. You can see anywhere from 10 to 30%. There's some reports with less than 10%. Potential causes for that was early embryonic mortality, delayed or early nucleosis. If we talk about either short cycles or longer cycles, that can affect our ability to identify whether an animal has undergone nucleosis, and that will affect our diagnosis. Something that we haven't considered that what we might have is failure to synchronize to the first time AI, because that might also cause a shift in have an animal that has an active corpus luteum, although it's not pregnant. Based on the results that we obtained, at least from a pulse repetition frequency and whether it's color flow or power mode, it doesn't seem to affect the diagnostic ability of Doppler ultrasonography at day 21. However, don't really know about other settings. As I said, there's a lot of other factors there that should probably be evaluated in order to make sure we set up that machine to the best, to give us the best chance of doing a proper diagnosis. And in the case of the use of asisitir, it does provide some benefit. Our study was fairly small, but it did increase specificity a little bit, and it gave us the idea that doing it at day 22, and at least in our setting, was more effective. And then that Doppler ultrasonography can be used with resynchronization, which allows for 2 fixed time AIs at 24 to 25 day intervals. However, as I show you just in these 2 examples, there seems to be some key differences between estradiol-based resynchronization programs and GnRH-based programs. I think we have a lot of work to do from the GnRH perspective. And one of the things I didn't touch, but I think it's kind of important to think about too, is what are the potential economic implications as it relates to cost and some of those false positives that you may have.
these things. The first thing they mentioned was twins. Are there twins? Why does this matter to clients? Well, as you know, a cow-carrying twins tends to have more problems, more metabolic issues, more dystocia, harder time getting started in lactation. If the client knows that she has twins, that she's carrying twins, they can manage her a little more differently. They also know that she's likely to calve a little earlier, so they can get her prepared for that sooner.
And I'm sorry for that some technical problem. Unfortunately, the guys take care. Well, thank you very much for the kind introduction, and thank you very much to everybody for assist this section totally dedicated to ultrasonography. And thank you very much, Jill, for your excellent presentation. I want to thank also the committee of the Congress for inviting me. Well, how many of the people that today are involved in bovine reproduction are you?
Which kind of title to propose? For me, it's been difficult to decide in which direction orient my presentation, because I was to speak for expert in reproduction, for beef cattle, dairy cattle, intensive system, extensive systems, and it's very difficult to find something that can include everyone. So at the end, I decided to cover the teeth doing a transversal and longitudinal section, or we can create like a hand-made standoff. You take a gloves that are using for reproduction. You put inside to have one finger.
Okay, come back to the normal pattern of reticulum contraction. What you want with a reticulum is a first contraction that would go to at least 10 centimeter, come back to relaxation, and then completely disappear more than 20 centimeter contraction. So here you can see that there is adhesion, and you can see here heterogenic content. So again, in this case, it does not guarantee.
Hoy es último día de congreso. Vamos a ver qué nos depara el destino. Último día.
No siempre valorada como merece, y también es un éxito para la profesión veterinaria en general, visibilizándose su continuo avance y su alto grado de especialización. En el
Si vas a hacer 200, 300 fotos, los aceptamos.
In case you don't know who he is.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to this Congress. I think it was fantastic. Yes, I'm Dr. Paul, and yes, I'm on TV, not because of me, because of my son that started the whole thing. I was born and raised in a dairy farm in the Netherlands, and the youngest of 6. And when I was 12 years old, the local veterinarian picked me up to deliver piglets at my brother's place. That was fun. I was up to my shoulder in those sows. It isn't dirty, it was fun. So since that time, I wanted to become a veterinarian. And I was educated in Utrecht, and the very first day, I was in class with about 300 sitting in a room for 100. And they said, you want to become a veterinarian? Fine, you want to practice? Forget it. So this is how basically I ended up in Michigan. And I'm very happy that I was there. Now, my practice tips are more stories. And they go back a long ways. I I was still in college, and we had a lot of practical experience over there. And one of the guys was one of those big, muscular, large animal veterinarian students, and the professor made us help in a calving of cow. And he says, always use both arms. Well, this guy said, I'm so big I couldn't get both arms in there. You know what the professor, he kicked his butt. Times have changed quite a bit, isn't it? That would never happen now. He kicked the student, and the student got both arms in the cow. Fast forward, after I came to the States, I was riding around with a local veterinarian, and he was also a big guy. So we went on a calving, and he was just working on that calving, and it worked about half an hour, 20 minutes, and I could see he was getting tired. So he looks at me, he says, please, can you just spell me and take over? Well, back in the Netherlands, it was taught, hey, take off your shirt and get in there. So I took off my shirt, put both arms in there, and within 5 minutes I had a live calf on the ground. And I still can see the look of the farmer on his face. He looks to the old veterinarian, he looks to me, and he says, oh boy. I didn't know what to say. I was more or less embarrassed because, I made that old veterinarian, that good man, look a little bit bad. But this is the thing. If you want to work on a calving, both arms, even now at this moment, at this time, after 50 years doing this, I still get both arms in there. And hopefully I'll get the calf up most of the time. The other thing is, Utrecht developed their phytotomy too. And this is another thing. They told us never do a C-section on a dead calf. I've done it one time. The rest, if it's dead, it comes out in pieces with this big tool. It's a little bit of work, but not that much. The last time I did this is about 4 weeks ago. And yes, I still can do it, thank goodness, because I love my job. Now, there's one more thing. I was talking to some students here how I do left displaced appomators. The main thing is roll the cow on its neck and I put the stitches in there. But the main thing is to leave a space of a hand width between the knot and the belly wall. This will make the stitches go inside, the appomator leaks a little bit, and you get a scar tissue formed between the wall of the appomator and the belly wall inside. And I've seen that when I have done autopsies on cows, but I did surgery several years ago. It's a permanent bond between the appomator and the belly wall. So the main thing is space so that you get a little leakage, not really peritonitis, that gives scar tissues. So these are my practice tips. I couldn't take anything with me to show you because we were traveling a long ways. So from here I want to introduce the next practice tips. And I think the first one is Giorgio.